If you still haven't seen Wednesday on Netflix, you're one of the only ones. Because Jenna Ortega's hit Addams Family adaptation has broken records and started trends all over social media. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. But have you ever wondered what it was like filming such a heavily detailed and aesthetically flawless show? Or what Jenna Ortega had to go through to master the role of Wednesday? Well, Jenna recently did an interview where she shared all of her experiences. And some of it was not so positive. Here's what Jenna Ortega revealed as the most difficult Wednesday scenes to film.
I want names.
Don't know who they were. Honest. Happened so fast.
First off, can we just talk about this amazing show for a second? Like, seriously, they did such a good job adapting the Addams Family into a modern teen dramedy.
When I look at you, the following emojis come to mind. Rope, shovel, hole.
Especially considering there have been so many renditions throughout the years. And audiences certainly were impressed because of the show. It broke huge records. The show took giant strides in streaming watch time within the first few weeks, surpassing Stranger Things 4, which is even crazier when you know that Stranger Things is Netflix's most popular show ever, not to mention the most iconic. Wednesday holds the record for the biggest second week of streaming in history. 2022 really was a huge year for Netflix, am I right? But Wednesday is being watched this much for a reason. It's the first time they've chosen to portray Wednesday Addams as a teenager struggling for acceptance rather than a young girl. Plus, Ortega's performance is incredible, not to mention powerful. It's also the first time that Wednesday is actually represented as Latina. Back in the 1990s adaptation, her father Gomez was finally represented as Latino, but not his children. So having Wednesday played as Ortega was admittedly refreshing. Although the show has been a complete and utter success, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows behind the scenes. Since the show was originally released, Ortega has gone from being a slightly recognizable young actress to a giant superstar almost overnight, thanks to clips of the show, specifically the dance scene that we all know from TikTok circulating everywhere. Jenna Ortega is becoming a household name in just a few short months. But at what cost? The actress has been doing lots of promo for the show and even posting about it on her personal social media. She seems to love talking to fans about the show. And recently, that's included the not-so-glamorous parts of filming the series. Because while Ortega is extremely excited and looking forward to the now-confirmed Season 2, she admitted that she did have a really tough time filming the first season. During a Netflix-hosted Q&A session, Jenna Ortega confessed just how stressful the job really was.
The internal panic that I faced, the pressure of, oh, people live for this character. People tattoo this character on their bodies.
And if you're not into the arts or acting, the number of hours she was working may come as a surprise, because truthfully, it's shocking she was working at this rate for so long. Anyway, Wednesday was filmed in Romania. So the entire 8 months they were filming the series, Ortega had to live abroad, away from all her close friends and most of her family. Which is tough enough, but the hours she was working really take the cake. She said that she frequently worked 6 days a week. Yikes! Can you imagine? 6-day work weeks for 8 months straight when you're only 20 years old is pretty intense, right? But it's a good thing she loved the work she was doing. At least then, the final product was worth it. Although you're never going to believe her shifts during these 6-day work weeks, Ortega revealed that she was typically working for 12 or 14 hours every single day. Because the one day she has off, that was reserved for any lesson she may need to be better prepared for the role. She said that she had to show up to set at least 2 hours early and then work for 12 to 14 hours per day. And the fact that she had practically no breaks between these shifts is appalling. But this is the kind of schedule a leading actor or actress needs to maintain when trying to get a show out as soon as possible.
It's a bit more socially awkward. There's a confidence there, but it's more concealed.
It's just a bit sad that Jenna had hardly any time for herself, you know? Anyway, she said that oftentimes she would show up to her apartment, and her cello teacher would already be waiting for her to start her lesson. If you've seen the show, you would know that Wednesday avidly plays the cello. And there are a few scenes where she's seen playing. So, of course, Jenna had to learn how to master the instrument. She said that it was just constantly going, and she had to be up and ready at all hours to practice, film, or do anything else she needed to do.
Never had a character where I've done such a physical transition before, or one that required.
Pretty intense, right? For most of her days off, She would have to do even more lessons all day so she could portray Wednesday perfectly. That all sounds really strict. It's amazing how resilient Jenna is. She could handle all of that and still make it out wanting to do it again. That's quite impressive if you ask me.
We are the cast of Wednesday, and we're going to take the BuzzFeed quiz. That's not the line.
But there's more, because during the Q&A, Jenna Ortega revealed what scene in the show was the most difficult to film. Any guesses as to what it might be? I'll give you a hint. It involves a certain string instrument. Yeah, remember that scene where Wednesday performs an eerily haunting performance of Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones? Ortega actually had to master that entire song for the scene. It sounds pretty difficult, doesn't it? Well, it gets even more challenging when you know this.
I didn't know where my hands were even supposed to go, and then I had to pretend like I knew what I can make two cello sounds come out of one cello, which was ridiculous.
The song is typically played by two different cello players at once, meaning that Ortega had to master playing the part of two instruments on the cello. Which she also had no prior knowledge of until her weekly lessons. Sounds pretty tough? It must have been because she said that it was the hardest part of the entire filming process. I did not get any sleep, Ortega went on. I pulled my hair out. There's so many FaceTime calls that my dad answered of me hysterically crying.
I pulled my hair out. There's so many FaceTime calls that my dad answered of me hysterically crying.
Yikes! Can you imagine just how hard that would be? The fact that she had to move away from her home in California for the show, work 6 12 to 14-hour days in a row, plus lessons on top of it is crazy. After hearing all of this, it really gives you a new perspective on the Wednesday show, right?
I have a tight deadline. Emphasis on dead.
It really lets you appreciate Ortega's performance even more, especially her cello scenes. There are not many people who could have pulled it off and still been sane afterwards. Now the Wednesday hype feels much more deserved.
5 more minutes. I was just getting comfortable.
But Jenna Ortega isn't letting the hype for her die down. She also stars in the newest addition to the Scream movie franchise, Scream 4, and the movie has been a huge success as well.
Hello?
Hello. Is Christina there?
No, she's not available. May I take a message?
Actually, it had a record opening at the box office for the series. That's just wild considering how popular and iconic the original 4 movies are. So honestly, good for her. She's managed to explode her career with multiple incredible roles in widely successful franchises in just 1 year. Although she has been acting almost all her life, she was a former Disney kid, after all. But what do you think? Don't you think it's pretty cool that Jenna Ortega had to actually learn the cello, among a ton of other stuff, for the role? I think it shows a lot of dedication to devote your whole year to something like that, right? Anyway, it's really great that all her hard work paid off in such a big way. That was what Jenna Ortega revealed as the most difficult Wednesday scene.